Hi, Mystic Travelers. It's me, Jazz, and welcome back to Beneath the Surface Tarot Deep Dives. Today, in the Black Mirror, I saw such a powerful image. It was a person, and they were in an orchard overfilled with fruit, but they were sitting in the middle, emaciated, crying and crying and crying. They reach down and pick up an apple, but they squeeze it so tight that the apple kind of it's crushed and all the pieces fall to the ground, which makes the person cry even more. So after having this vision in the Black Mirror, I had been thinking about a couple of things, but the quote that had resonated with me is from Hafez, the Sufi mystic. And this is from his poem, Someone Untied Your Camel. And it's just a quote from it. Is your caravan lost? It is if you no longer weep from gratitude or happiness, or weep from being cut deep with the awareness of the extraordinary beauty that emanates from the most simple act and common object. My dear, is your caravan lost? It is if you can no longer be kind to yourself and loving to those who must live with the sometimes difficult task of loving you. Wow. Okay, so let's see what this has to do with our reading today. Okay. So, when I think of a person who is sitting in an orchard that's overflowing with bounty, with abundance, yet they can't see it for themselves. In fact, when they grab their abundance, they break it to pieces. Is your caravan lost? It is if you can no longer see the wonder in daily things. This person in my vision had everything a person would need in this metaphor, right? They're in an abundant orchard, but yet they're starving. They're starving. And when they do grasp onto something, they hold on too tight. I'm getting themes of control here. All right, but let's see what the cards have to say and expand upon this deep dive. What's going on? What's going on? The mask. So, in regards to my vision and with the caravan lost, if you can no longer see the beauty in every day, are you seeing the beauty in yourself? This person in my vision had such despair because they thought they had nothing. But maybe that was just a mask that somebody put on them when they were younger. So they saw abundance as lack. Or maybe they were taught that abundance meant something different than what it actually means. So maybe they thought, oh, abundance means a big pile of wood. But since they only had unlimited fruit, they felt like they were in lack, right? Shadow work. This has sort of a deserty feeling to it. Is your caravan lost? The first part of that, where they say, is your caravan lost? It is if you can no longer enjoy or appreciate the small things. The second part, is your caravan lost? It is, my dear, if you aren't gentle with yourself or the other people who have the sometimes difficult task of loving you. It doesn't mean you're hard to love. No, loving you, being loved is the easiest thing in the world. But I think sometimes we forget what love actually means. We lose the balance, right? We hyper-focus on either the bad things that a person does, or we hyper-focus on what we want them to be. So we put them on the pedestal, or we say, oh, If you aren't this way exactly, like you have a vision in your mind and you want that person to wear that mask, right? But it takes so much bravery to love somebody where they're at, even if that means letting go of control. Which reminds me of the apple, right? The person, they squeezed it too tight. When they finally realized, I have something, they squeezed it so tight until they had nothing, right? You don't have to do things the way you were told. You don't have to hide. You feel fragile. This person in the egg reminds me of the person in the vision where they're just so emotionally fragile, right? They look out at the world and they see, oh, everyone else is doing fine. But are they? What you see other people do, their masks, are not necessarily what's really going on below the surface, right? Beneath the surface, like this series. So let's just continue and see what's next. We have a sort of playfulness, a merry-go-round. The animals are a little, slightly sinister looking, but not too bad. Playing with your shadow. We've got that theme here too, balancing. And you know, in the vision, it's the same thing. It's like you can't taste your abundance until you've faced your shadow and you've been able to take the mask off and look directly into the mirror of your soul without shame, without flinching, and facing what's really there, whether you like what it is or not. Because what's there might be fine. It's just that conditioning may have told you that it's not fine. Sort of like I said, the person in the orchard, maybe they were told that a pile of wood was great, but really, you know, they're missing the abundance that's right there. Brightness hidden on the I Ching. Constancy and hardship bears fruit. Are you hiding yourself because you're afraid that you won't be loved, you won't be accepted? There's a lot of themes here of like basically a core wound or a shadow wound that needs to be healed. You need to reach out and love yourself. You're wearing a mask in order to keep a certain facade up, but of course, deep down, you know that your brightness is hidden under this mask. So even though you think maybe that you've become this mask, that you're the person showing there, the stuff that's simmering beneath has kept you very fragile. And until you learn to play and understand and comfort your shadow, it's going to be hard for you not only to love yourself and appreciate the beauty in your everyday life and the abundance that you have, but you have expectations about love and what it means that can cause hardship in relationships because maybe you expect too much of your partner. I know that I've done this in the past. I've had a partner like, oh, well, he can just heal. I'll give him the resources. I wasn't accepting him where he was. Where he was not in a place where we could be together because, I had a certain kind of growth mindset and he had a certain kind of mindset and they didn't. So me pushing and pushing and expecting him to be someone he was not caused so much hardship, right? And we do this to ourselves too, right? We run ourselves ragged because we're like, I should be this or I should be that. But really, you should be like, I love the idea of saying instead of like, I should, you say, I choose to. Who are you choosing to be today? How are you choosing to show your love today to yourself, to other people? And that line from Hafez about the sometimes difficult task of loving you, that shows the sort of superficiality of how we see love. True agape or caritas, the kind of divine love that we would think about. It is an overarching, full experience that is everywhere at every moment. That love is always there. But to function day to day, the earthly kind of love, we have to have boundaries. And when we put too many expectations on ourselves or on others, we kind of shatter those boundaries and put them in a way where we start having so many expectations, right? And those expectations lock you into a version of reality that's not necessarily the one that's best for you or that serves you. Look for substance over companionship. It's better to be alone and have a high quality inner experience, 11, than it is to be with people who you can't love fully or you put on a pedestal or who can't love you fully. Khalil Gibran did another episode, do not love half lovers, do not entertain half friends. Everyone is on a different path. And it doesn't mean to abandon people who are still in their growth phase, right? It means that you can't, if your energies don't match, if they want to be left behind or they want a different path than you, maybe their soul contract in this life is different than yours. So by trying to force it, you may even be throwing yourself between them and their karma, right? But also, you don't want to take on another person's karma that way. Surround yourself with people of substance who appreciate your true brightness, people you can put the mask off with. But to do that, you're going to have to face some very fragile parts of yourself to find this balance. And it all starts with, and I say it all the time, it all starts with facing the mirror, facing shadow work. Get the professional help you need with that. I would recommend if you need to, if you can. Oh, hold on, my dog. Apologies. In this house, animals always take priority. We have this kind of a funny rule where if someone needs something, but there's an animal in their lap, then someone else has to get it for them. It's a good incentive to always be petting a bunny or a puppy or a kitty. She is 1,000 flowers. This is the abundance, right? You are living abundance. You are stardust in ecstatic motion. You have a fire in you, but that fire being bright, being steady, being content, being okay with where you're at, it doesn't sell, right? It doesn't sell. So we are encouraged from a young age to wear a mask, and our shadows get built up and built up and built up over time. And they get bigger and bigger to the point where you don't feel like it's even possible to start digging through it. But just take one step at a time. I know sometimes we just I want to get this over with. It's a slow process because when you start stirring up the mud, stuff gets worse or feels worse before it feels better usually. But sometimes just starting makes you feel better. But when you have to face all the stuff, that's why some people go through their entire lives and they would much rather just pretend that there's no problems, no issues, and that, everything's just going to magically, you're just going to swallow it down until this life is over and then it'll magically disappear. Well, whatever you believe about the afterlife, being miserable in this life because you didn't do the work, that's not good either. There's a saying, it says, you should meditate 20 minutes a day. And if you can't meditate 20 minutes a day, if you don't have time to, then you should meditate for an hour. And what that means in this context is that if you feel like I don't have time or I'm scared of doing shadow work, that means you need to do it more than ever, right? Because there's stuff in there you're scared to look at. But the thing is there's this quote by Rumi that says, if you're in the graveyard and you see the boogeyman, run towards him and he'll disappear. So basically, a lot of times these things are blown up in our heads to a point where we really can't face it. We think that there's a monster there, but then when we start facing it, we see, oh, It was just a perception that needed to be shifted. And now, oh, that big thing I was scared of, it's not actually a big deal. And then you become empowered. Now, I have this series of the Mystic's What Ifs, metaphysical thought experiments, and I will be talking about this in a few upcoming episodes, so keep your eye out for those, specifically about facing the concepts of death and the afterlife. So please keep your eyes out for those. They'll definitely complement this very well. The Beltane Lover. Now, Beltane is the time of year. It's considered kind of the most powerful day where the veil is thin, besides Samhain or Halloween. It's got a different energy, though. It's got an energy of fertility, of abundance, of love, of lovers jumping the bonfire. I get a feeling from this card, a peacefulness, a just being in the momentness. When's the last time you were able to be in a quiet celebratory moment without overthinking, without feeling like I should be doing something else, I should be doing something better, I'm not doing something right? I think sometimes it can be difficult to love ourselves. We say the sometimes difficult task of loving you, the sometimes difficult task of loving ourselves. We might put other people on pedestals and then put ourselves deep in the dirt. Why? Because somebody told us that? Because someone told us to be humble? Well, I think that most people's idea of humility is actually just a control mechanism. Humility, I think, is not what we think it is. If you think being humble is sacrificing your entire joy in your entire life and making yourself small so that other people who can't handle the vast beauty of your true self can feel comfortable because they're so small, they want to make you small too, then maybe it's time to reevaluate that. You deserve more. You deserve better. Ace of Pentacles. Once again, we're getting this repeated idea that abundance is all around you, but you're struggling to see it. And it can be really hard to see abundance when our souls are constantly, from the time of birth, told again and again and again to be unhappy so that they can sell stuff to us, right? So it's not just, there's nothing wrong with you for thinking that way. It's because it's what you were taught. But now, as a fully formed thinking adult, it's your time to walk through the gateway and claim the abundance that's truly yours. You belong to yourself, and there's nothing wrong with being content, right? There's this idea of like unending growth, and oh, I don't know about you, but I've definitely had that problem where I'm just sitting around and I'm like, oh my gosh, I should be doing something. I should be doing something. Oh my gosh, I should be doing something. And I know that that's just neural programming. And you can retrain that. There used to be this saying, oh, you can't teach old dogs new tricks. Well, that's been proven wrong. You can rewrite your neural pathways. But I think the hardest part, and you know, there's another saying, old saying that says, knowing is half the battle. I used to think that that was nonsense. But I think now that that is absolutely true, because seeing these built-in programs when they're so normal to you, like for example, if somebody, you know, lived in a house with no windows, that would be the extent of the reality that they would believe in. So when you took them outside, say they were 20 years old and you took them outside, they would literally not understand what this means. They'd have to adapt to it and learn about it and adjust to it. So if you spent your whole life with a level of anxiety about your true self being exposed because of a parent or coworkers or people at school or stuff telling you and shutting you down when you were authentic, then you think that that's normal reality because it was hardwired into your brain during your developmental stage. But with repetition and exploration, you can solve this, right? You can start seeing, as Hafez says, the little magics and stuff so that your caravan can be found again. So your soul can be found again. So you're not lost in the desert. You can look up and realize that you are the abundance in the orchard. You don't need to go find the specific things that other people told you abundance meant. You have that abundance in yourself already. Look at that. I left this card in here. So I'm going to say, because everything happens for a reason, that this card is saying, be your radiant self authentically, right? You are that radiance. And if you look in a mirror and you only see the mask, you'll never see the radiance behind it. Now we'll just set that to the side. Expect it to go back and forth, right? Because the truth is that it's not a linear journey. It's more like a spiral. Actually, yeah, like this. So one day you're like, oh, I feel so empowered. I love myself. I'm on top of this. And then somebody will say something or do something that will trigger you, whether they're directly mean or they say something that triggers you. And there's something a lot of people don't realize. There are actually flashbacks and triggers. There are different kinds. So there are memory ones, right? There are emotional ones. There are physical ones. And I believe even spiritual ones. So, and the thing is, we think, oh, okay, so if I have a big surge of emotion, we automatically think that it's about right now, about what's going on right now. But that's not necessarily true. You could be having an emotional flashback. Not all. So basically, you can have an emotional and a mental flashback at the same time. So you have the memory and the emotions with it. But what a lot of people don't know is you can have an emotional flashback or a physical flashback where your body reacts a certain way without knowing why. It does not have to have the mental flashback with it. So that's why you should always take a pause when you get an overwhelming emotion or an overwhelming sensation in your body and breathe into it and say, is this about right now? Or is this something else? What triggered me? And how can I face the boogeyman so that that trigger doesn't bother me anymore? And obviously, don't put yourself in a situation where you feel, so it's sort of like yoga, right? When you're doing yoga, you stretch yourself just a tiny bit, so you get to where you're comfortable and then you stretch yourself a little further. You never hurt yourself, but you push yourself a little bit further and then you slowly get to where you're way more flexible. You should take the same approach emotionally. We live in a culture where everything's like now, fast, 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 fast. But this is slow, calm work. You can bust it open all at once, but that can be so unnecessarily painful, right? Sometimes life will bust it open for you. So why should you purposefully add a lot more pain and pressure to that for no reason? Yes. Once you're able to do this, find your caravan. Start not just enjoying the fruits around you, the abundance around and within you, but holding it lightly. That goes back earlier to where I said, don't feel like you have to do it all at once. Don't grasp the apple so tight that it explodes in your hands and you're left with mush on the ground. Hold on to it lightly. St. John of the Cross. Oh, by the way, you will come into your abundance. This is the card of independence, self-worth, things like that. So St. John of the Cross talks about the dark night of the soul. And basically he's like, if you're holding on so tight to one idea, and this goes back again to Hafez saying, or how I was saying earlier, how it was sort of indicated like putting people on a pedestal and having certain expectations. If you grasp so tight onto one idea or one expectation, then you become paralyzed or stagnant in that space. And then you get so scared of letting go. But if you hold things lightly, you give the universe a chance to flow through you. because the universe has a goal for you. So I feel like it's like when you manifest, that the idea is that you keep your manifestations very loose, more vague than anything, right? Because if you say, I want this specific person to be my husband or wife or whatever, I want this specific job, then you might lock into an idea, and then something better. The universe is actually presenting what you truly want on a platter, and you don't see it because you're hyper focused on one certain thing. So when you keep your goals loose, or like, I want the job that'll make me happiest, or I'm going to open myself up for a love that will truly make my soul sing and truly see me, then you give the universe room to give you the actual thing that you need. So in the Dark Night of the Soul, he says, we sabotage ourselves. And so sometimes that's why we go into the dark night of the soul, because the divine power blinds us to the work that's being done, because we won't let go of control. So it's going to take it from us temporarily. Just like that. You're pushing and pushing. What happens if you just drop those wands and just picked up one at a time? Why do you got to do it all at once? Why do you feel like... I feel like this reminds me of a Sisyphus thing, like the guy pushing the rock up the hill and then it rolls down. How are you doing that in your life emotionally? Or how is a pattern repeating in relationships that kind of reflects that? Sometimes you just need to let go. Let go of control, let go of expectations. See where that takes you. You might be surprised that you end up in a much better place. And I'll say that once again as a person who, my last relationship, I clung so hard. I tried so hard. I gave resources. I was like, oh, let's go to therapy. Let's do all this. But that person wasn't interested. They said they were, but I believed their words and not their actions. So therefore, I got caught up in this, where I was basically Sisyphusing a rock up a hill for 3 years, all to keep this and making myself smaller. And it drained all my energy, all my creativity. And for what? So that this person who was too scared to face their own emotions wouldn't have to deal with the full glory of myself, because they were too scared to deal and face the true glory of their selves because of, childhood conditioning and things like that. And I have so much compassion and love for that person to this day. But that was a boundary I had to draw. What boundaries do you need to draw in your life? This reinforces the idea to get there slow but sure wins the race. Don't try to rush. Don't try to push. Don't try to pressure. Do the work steadily. Don't expect the universe to just do it for you. But you will find the more you steadily do that and you get into flow, that the universe will just kind of push you to the right places at the right times. And you can use signs and synchronicities as a way to track if you feel like you're in alignment or not, in flow or not. Because when that happens, it'll just flow through. You remember in Harry Potter or whatever, and he gets the Felix, whatever, the luck potion. And he was just like, oh, I feel like I really need to be in this one place. And everyone's like, but that's not what you need to do. You need to do this. And he's like, no, I really need to be there. And then he goes there and everything falls perfectly into place. That is actually how the universe itself, when you get into flow, is like a good luck potion, right? And that's why I say inner alchemy is a journey of inner transformation, so that you are able to open the conduit between you and the universe. But so it's really not like that you're changing who you are. It's more like you are transmuting all the junk that was piled on you your whole life into an open conduit for your own creativity. This is something I've learned in the last few years. Being lonely and being alone are two different things. When you can get to the point where being alone is not a scary thing, but a joyous thing, a joyous respite from the world, because you love yourself and you're not running from anything. You love yourself just as you are. That silence, that aloneness becomes peace. We're taught from a young age that alone equals bad. There's even this things like, oh, you're going to die alone with your cats or whatever. You know, there's no guarantee, even if you're with a partner, that you won't still die alone. And at the end of the day, we all die alone because no one can walk that path with us when the moment comes, right? So getting strong in yourself. I wish I could remember who said it, but someone said, like, basically, you live your life to prepare for a good death or something like that. So, like, basically, if you're living a good life, you know, when your time comes, you're not scared and fighting against it. You understand it as a natural process that you fall into. But that starts with learning to love yourself and meeting yourself deep down. Don't leave your star. Don't leave your light compressed and hidden. Shine it out. When you're able to become at peace with yourself, you'll actually attract in higher vibration people that love your light. Remember, you are allowed to take up space and be yourself, even if it's not, if there's certain people out there who think that that's not cool or normal or whatever, that just shows their own shadow, right? Their own fragility. You don't have to take that personally. Now, at first, it's really hard to internalize that. You want to take it personally. But remember, you don't have to believe everything you think. It's really important, in fact, not to believe everything you think. Because, as we say, 95% of everything you think comes from your subconscious programs. So therefore, if that's the case, and you're still working on the process of reprogramming your subconscious from those old toxic mind patterns, those old thoughts are going to come up till the new neural pathways of positivity and self-love and all that replace them. But eventually those will become the dominant ones, and the other old toxic ones will just become a memory, right? And this is why I pick it up first. You're ending a cycle here. It's the world. You're ending a cycle here, and the world is at your feet. The world will open up for you when you are able to stop clinging and stop feeling, because control isn't necessarily like, oh, I'm controlling people. Control is like, I need to control the situation to feel safe, but it might not look like, it might not be so obvious, right? So yeah, it's really time to evaluate that, think it through and all that. You've got this. You know, your caravan might be lost, but you're actually just a few feet away from an oasis. The oasis is inside you. You've got this. Do you have to face some hard stuff? Yeah, but also remember, a lot of that hard stuff is not your hard stuff. It's hard stuff other people dumped on you. And you don't have to keep it. You don't have to roll their stuff up a hill, right? Be the peace that you want to see. Okay, my friends. Well, I think I skipped my intro earlier, but I'm Jazz from the Mystic's Mirror. I am collecting true spiritual stories, like spiritual downloads, angelic encounters, paranormal stories, so cryptids, UFOs, ghosts, all that, for a veil crossing series. So look down in the description box if you want to add to that. And please tell me in the comments how you are finding your caravan and accepting your fragility as a strength and not a weakness. Remember, you can have a fragile, vulnerable heart, but keep your boundary strong at the same time. I will see you next time, my friends. And remember, you deserve your own love. You are the love of your life. You are going to be there the day you were born, and you'll be there the day you die, and nobody else will be there every single day. So be your own best friend. I'll see you next week.